and welcome to today's webinar on scenario writing. My name is April Mickley, and I'm the Executive Director of Future Problem Solving Program International. And one of our very special components is the component of scenario writing. Joining me today is Kathy Frazier and Elaine Reynolds. They are authors of a book called Into the Future, and they're going to share a lesson from that book. It's one small part of all of the aspects that come together in scenario writing. So please know this is one of many aspects and part of a video series. This will not give you a complete picture of everything that is needed. Before we get started, I just wanted to introduce scenario writing competition and what it includes and who might be interested. So students that are interested in creative writing, they're looking at futuristic thoughts and thinking and want to develop that into a story. Maybe you're interested in global issues or you're extra attentive to those items. Perhaps students who want to expand their writing portfolio. Perhaps they're excellent at poetry or creative stories of the past, and they want to learn about a new type of writing. And maybe those students that really like structure for creative writing and like to meet requirements that are set for them will really enjoy this aspect. Our program does encompass grades 4th through 12th. Of course, in competition, we break those up into different age groups. So 4th through 6th is our juniors, 7th through 9th are our middles, and 10th through 12th are our senior division. So here's a little bit of an overview about the aspects of scenario writing. The short stories contain 1,500 words or less. They are set at least 20 years in the future. They're related to one of the 5 topics for the year, and we change our topics every year, which is really exciting and helps us learn about a lot of different futuristic aspects. And the future that is included in your scenarios is an imagined future, but it is logical. It's an outcome of the actions and events that are happening right now in the world. You are able to find research about these items and then project and create a story of the future. The topics that are current right now in 2020-21 competition season are the topics of terraforming, youth and competitive sports, wearable technology, the human environmental impact, and personalized medicine. And you can see these topics span a variety of interests. And we do try every year to include topics that are high interest of students, but that also fall under our 3 categories of science and technology, or business, or social political. And you see these topics represent those as well. If you need more information and specifics about scenario writing, on our website at fpspi.org, you can type in resource-links, or you can scroll all the way to the bottom of the home page and you'll see a tab called resource links. At that tab, you will be able to find complete information about scenario writing, a sample of a prior student's work so you can see what the end product looks like and learn more how to get involved. We have 27 participants with us on today's webinar. We welcome you. I see in the chat box we have some people from California, from Turkey, from Ohio, and we are so pleased that you're with us. Please know that the session will be recorded, so if you have others who would like this information and you want to share it with them, we will get this up on our YouTube and share out via social media how to access that. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce and welcome Kathy and Elaine to kick off today's mini lesson for creation and writing of scenarios.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving right along, we're here at the GPS navigation guide. So let's take a look at it. In our last presentation, we visited the Vortex of the Future. As we move on to the Vortex of Creation and then to the Vortex of Writing, Tracker says, Power up your keyboard. Put your thinking cap on tight. Ignite your imagination. It's finally time to write. On to the vortex of creation.
Oh, wow. Here we are in the vortex of creation. And this is where the command center of the brain can be found. So we're going to begin by discovering the thinking powers of the brain that are related to the scenario writing process. And since scenario writing involves both sides of the brain, let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay, if you look at the left side of the command center there, which represents the left side of the brain, it deals with logical, precise, and ordered form of thought, including language, math, and science.
And if you look at the right hemisphere of the brain, you can see it controls creative thinking, holistic thought, which is the ability to look at the whole picture, movement, imagination, music, and drama. Oh, and Elaine, what's that book over on the side?
We would like to share our Power Up Your Creative Mind book. It deals with all kinds of creative thinking, how to get your brain to work, how to make your lessons if you're teachers more creative, and for students, how to bring out the creativity in yourself. So let's make a model of the brain, like the one you see in the picture. Hold up the left hemisphere. When you're writing a scenario, your left brain helps you with topic selection, research, logical reasoning, sequencing of your storyline, word selection, and editing.
And now hold up your right fist, which is the right hemisphere of the brain. And when you're writing a scenario, the right side of the brain helps you think of predictions, develop your future world, imagine story plots, and also develop your main character.
Okay, and if you put the brain back together, you notice that right down the center is a bundle of nerves, and it's called the corpus callosum. It helps the two sides of the brain communicate. And when you're selecting your message, that's especially important that they communicate. Let's take a closer look at those lyrics. Lyrics bring out your emotions. Do you see anything in the words that reminds you of how you feel when you're just beginning to put your words down on paper? Write your ideas in the chat.
Okay, here's some input from the chat. Someone said, a ding-a-dairy helps me remember to be silly.
That's right. When you're writing a scenario, it's good not to get too serious because that might stop your thoughts from flowing.
Someone said worrying more than focusing on what I want to say.
You don't want to add any more stress to what you're thinking.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, someone else mentioned once you get an amazing idea, you might think I could think of things I never thought of before, and then I just think of more ideas. It helps me be energized to explore more ideas for the plot.
That's right. That's piggybacking on ideas. Very good.
Okay, let's see. Conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rains. It reminds me to actually think about all the little parts of the story to make it more interesting.
Wow, lots of great ideas.
That's right.
Actually,
I just wanted to, I just wanted to point out one thing.
Someone said, my head all full of stuff and is your thoughts, ideas, and imagination. And then you have to think about how you can use them to actually make the story.
So that one's really good. Yeah.
And then one more. I could think of things I never thunk before, and then I sit and think some more. Reminds me that if you put effort into your thinking and writing, you can think of extraordinary things.
Amazing.
Great.
Right. And just to point something out for you, if you look at the first stanza of the song, During the creative writing process, there's a period called incubation that the research talks to about. And in that phase, you feel like you can't get started, like there's just too much going on. And the reason for that is because your left and right brain are kind of at war with each other. The right brain is giving you all kinds of ideas. The left brain is trying to sort them out and find the best one and reason with them. And you're just kind of in a mess stage, just like you are in the problem solving process. So it's good to know that so that you can just relax if you feel like that, and just know that in time the ideas will come.
And oftentimes they come at really weird times, like you're jogging or riding your bike and an idea pops into your head.
That's right. So now we're moving on into the vortex of writing. And Tracker's message here is it's time to get started, and you will find it's best to begin with the end in mind.
Begin with the end in mind? Well, what do you think that means, Elaine?
Well, Tracker main idea here is that before you can begin to write, you have some things to consider and some decisions that you have to make. And the first one is to decide what formatting style you would like to use and what's best for your storyline. It could be a narrative or a dialogue, a diary, a journal, or even a letter.
Right. And next is, what point of view are you going to write your story from? Will it be first person, I, or will it be third person, he, she, or it?
Right. And then you have to think about the main character. And this is the person or thing that most directly experiences the impact of decisions and trends you found in the research. And whether this character is animate or inanimate, you should place that character directly into the conflict. You want the readers to empathize, and deeply connect with your character so they're drawn into the storyline and wanting to read on. You want them to care about what happens to your character.
Yes. And last but not least, choosing the message is probably the most important decision you will make about your scenario. It can be positive or it can be negative, but no matter what it is, you want the reader to think of the consequences of the actions, maybe that we are taking today or not taking today, that will lead to this kind of future.
So the next thing is to think about plot creation. And when thinking about the plot, you must have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
And in the beginning, you want to capture your reader's attention right there in the first paragraph. So you might introduce your main character. You might place your reader into the future world that you're creating, or you might give them a little bit of an insight into the conflict that's going to occur.
Right, and then the middle is where the action is. Here, the main character is embroiled in the conflict, and you show the impact of the trends and decisions we're making today on the people in your future world. Your work in the middle is to paint a clear picture of what the future might hold.
And in the end, you want to resolve your conflict and let your message come through loud and clear. Leave the reader thinking about what the future might hold.
You know, Kathy, all this decision making can make a person feel a little stormy inside, like maybe a thunderstorm's coming. Let's create a scenario writing thunderstorm.
Sounds
so
good.
This is audience participation. Bring on the wind.
Smiling at me. Blue sky.
Go back a slide.
Go back one slide. There we go. The rain has a little confusion in it. So bring on the wind by blowing. Tap your fingers slowly, and the rain will begin to fall. Let's blow a little harder and clap your hands together to make the wind stronger, the rain fall harder. Now blink your eyes and stomp your feet as thunder and lightning. Cut your fingers slowly, lighten that rainfall. End with a very soft breeze. I want you to bravely march through the storm of decision making. And remember that after a storm, there is a calm. Like to find a rainbow. One more. If these decisions are carefully made before beginning to write, nothing but blue skies will come your way.
That was
Let the
some
blue
storm.
skies brighten your day. Yeah, it was a storm. As we move on to our next step.
Okay, and in our next step, before you start writing, you might want to create a storyboard. And the storyboard will help guide you. So there's two types of storyboards. The first one is the brainstorming storyboard that you can see in the right-hand corner of your screen at the top. And with the brainstorming storyboard, you want to use Post-it notes, and you can draw an idea and place it on your brainstorming board, or you can write it down. But what it will be in the end is a collection of ideas that you can use when you write your story. And you can take some off and throw them away, and you can move them around. The second is the plot storyboard. And picture your plot like a movie in your mind. What will happen? How will the characters act? And where will things happen? The setting of your story, your conflict, your resolution, and your message. And you can see on this plot storyboard that there's a place where you could draw a picture, or underneath you could write a description. So it's helping you to organize and sequence your scenario, and you can use it as a guide as you go on. Now, what genre will work with your scenario? Consider that also. Adventure, suspense, humor, or drama.
Okay. Have you ever heard the expression, show, don't tell? Well, read these two sentences that are going to be popping up on the board and think to yourself, which one shows and which one tells?
Wow, that one's hard.
She says that tongue in cheek. But the important thing is, can you tell me how you decided the difference? How did you make up your mind? How do you make your writing sparkle? Imagery is the key. So let's move on to the next slide. And it's your turn to write. Use your imagery to make the sentence come alive. Remember, it's not about how big the words are you use or how long the description is. It's all about the image that you present, that you paint for your audience and your reader. So we're going to share some examples of what people in the workshop presented. Now, turn that over to April.
So here are some of the chat comments on some ways to take this pretty boring sentence, the food smelled bad. Let's see. The food smelled revolting, and it looked and smelled like pig slop.
Yeah.
I pinched my nose and tried to push away my lunch. My eyes started to water. Why, oh, why did I not bring more lunch money? The wafting from the kitchen made me gag. I doubled over, holding my stomach in revulsion. When I walked into the room, the smell of rancid meat permeated the room and made me turn around. Wow, we got really creative with these. I'm glad I already had my lunch. Here's another. His nose hairs were wilting as the stench wafted in his nose to his horror. I held my nose as I smelt the gross aroma. My stomach groaned. I guess it didn't like the smell either.
Oh, that's funny.
Those were awesome. Did you have one to share, Kathy?
I did, but I don't know if it's as good as our participants. I said, the fridge smells like the carcass of a decomposing animal. How about you?
Okay, mine was the putrid aroma entered his nostrils, causing Patrick's stomach to revolt in disgust.
Ooh.
I think
So
you're right.
One of my favorite
Kids do that.
ways to help really learn show don't tell is to grab some friends, or maybe if you're a teacher, ask your students, just get out a little piece of paper and sketch a picture of the food smelling bad. And I guarantee you, if you have, 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, draw a picture to match the food smelling bad, it's going to look very different, right? All their pictures are going to look very different. But if you told the group to draw a picture of his nose hairs were wilting as the stench wafted in his nose in his horror, you bet you're going to have some big old nose with some wilting hairs and some stinky mess coming up, because that sentence gives you that mental picture. So that's just kind of a fun exercise for show don't tell.
I'm
That's
gonna
a
try
really
that.
good one. Okay. Moving right along.
So we wanted to share with you from one of my students, Hallie, the imagery she used in the FPS topic orphans, which has been a while, but Hallie's scenario won first place internationally. And just to give you some background, the topic was orphans, and in the future, robots took care of orphans. And so this is told from the perspective of the robot who is taking care of the orphans. So here's her beginning paragraph. And remember, we said we wanted to draw the readers in with our imagery. These are careless times. Weapons are used like a chef uses flour. Disease is everywhere. We robbed the earth of it long ago, and in return, she constantly plagues us with famine and natural disaster. So Hallie is placing you in the future world. Now, this second paragraph we chose is an example from the point of view of the robot who is watching one of the kids. He holds me tightly, like I might disappear if he lets go. If he can wring out his fears in me, maybe they will go away too. I am his crutch, but I cannot support him. Only touch a cold metal sensor to his cheek. The boy looks up at me, right into my optical sensors. His eyes hit me full force.
Wow.
So
It
you
really
can
shows, you really get drawn into that picture of the boy hugging the robot. She did a really good job.
She did. So one last thing we wanted to tell you is that take a look at your rubrics along the way as you write your drafts of your scenario, and look at the edge of the rubric that's exemplary or strong. And this is a list of all the topics that you'll find on the rubric. And so if you're writing, check out, is my story in the future? Take a look at your character. Does he change over time, or she or it change over time?
And all of these aspects are what our evaluators look for when they're reading your scenarios and when they're determining the winners of the competitions. These are the items that are used to determine which scenarios score the highest.
So it's always good to know where you're going before you get started.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're ready. And this is Tracker's final message to you. You're ready? Start writing. Do not delay. Help shape the future in your own special way.
Well, thank you so much, Elaine and Kathy, for joining us, for sharing a snippet of one of the many lessons in your book to help students with scenario writing and future problem solving, but also in any writing that they have to do. We have other lessons planned in this video series. I believe editing's coming up next. So that'll be our
Yes.
next feature. So watch for newsletters, watch our Facebook page for information on when that will be. And any questions, you can check out our website at fpspi.org, or you can contact our office for more information. Thank you so much. Keep writing and entertaining your teachers and evaluators and parents with your great stories that you create. Bye-bye.
Hi, thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you. Yes.